Everyone gets cards that only they can see. And there's 2 werewolf cards, and the rest are villagers. And the people who get the werewolf, then at night, they simulate night, everyone's got to close their eyes, and the werewolves can open their eyes, and they get to choose to kill one villager. But now the werewolves know who each other are, because they can open their eyes, and they agree, cool, we're taking this guy out. Wow, he's out. Then the next morning, the villagers and the werewolves get to decide who they think the werewolf was, and they kill that person and take him out. And by running this game through a bunch of cycles over and over again, they found that in most cases, majority of cases, the werewolves are the ones that are left at the end, not the villagers.
Hey there everybody, welcome back to the Straight No Chaser podcast, where we talk about human freedom through money, technology, philosophy and economics. Unfortunately, in today's episode, we are missing 2 of our speakers, which is Oken and Herman. Life and circumstances kept them away today. But nevertheless, Ricky and myself had a fantastic chat. We spoke about the Adopting Bitcoin conference and the highlights that each of us took away from that conference. My personal one was a demonstration Ricky did on paying something like 2 Rand from South Africa to Europe, and it settled in 5 minutes into that person's bank account. I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling stuff that's being built. Not only the technology, but the people there, absolutely incredible. People that are doing work on the ground that is life-changing work. It's really making a difference in everyday lives. So this one is a little bit Bitcoin heavy, but it is well worth it. We also do chat a little bit about the global economy in terms of politics, and really why we should not be listening to these people. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this one. Cool. Ricky, welcome to the monthly podcast. Nice to see you. We're a bit thin on the ground today. We have a medical emergency for one of our mates, and another mate has got a bureaucratic emergency stuck in the mighty Home Affairs. So it's you and I flying the flag this month. But yeah, it'll be a good convo. So Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town 2026 has just finished. And I thought, what better way to actually just start off the chat by talking a little bit about that. Personal highlights. How did you find it? This was the first one I've been to, so I have zero reference. You've obviously been to all of them. And by all, I think there's been 3. This was the 3rd, if I'm correct. So highlights, Ricky. What blew your hair back there?
Well, as an organizer, I can tell you the main highlight for me is that it's over. And I know I don't mean that in a bad way. Like I think the conference was a great success. We got a lot out of it. You know, we had great speakers, great turnouts. The vibes were really good. The amount of interface between people and speakers, attendees and speakers was phenomenal. Super high signal. So that was all great. It's just, the month leading up to it is always frantic. And you always think it's going to be a massive failure because your ticket numbers are nowhere near where you need them to be. And then the last 2 weeks is when ticket numbers explode. Classic. We should actually organize in Pretoria rather than in Joburg, because at least in Pretoria, people plan ahead. In Cape Town, they wait to see what the next best thing is they can do. And then they hate to commit to things, So yeah, that was a bit stressful in those few weeks. But otherwise, I think it was a great success. Personally, a highlight for me, I think, was just seeing that people can just do what they want to do. Just don't ask permission. Asking permission is seeking denial. Just go and do it, And there's people that have really embraced this ethos. And there's just really, really cool projects coming out the woodwork that are being built by people with absolutely no budget. They're just doing it themselves. And one of the things that really enabled this is obviously AI coding tools, that people who are creative but don't know how to code historically or classically, they're not classical coders, if you can call it that, they are now able to build things. I don't know if you attended Glenn Yoster's talk, Bitcoin Ubuntu, about what the proof of work system he's built for the circular economies. It's just absolutely phenomenal what he's been able to build with Claude Code. So yeah, that was really good for me to see. And then the other thing that was great for me to see was that we had an extremely strong African contingent this year from the rest of Africa. So we didn't just have internationals from Europe and the States coming in. I think we had more people from Africa than from the rest of the world who was there, which was really, really cool to see. And just the projects that are happening, especially in the circular economy space, but also on the business side of things, in Africa was really, really, really cool to see. So I've been to a few Bitcoin conferences now in my time, and they're all, are unique and cool in their own way. But the signal that we see at Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town is great. And the like pioneer spirit and the, don't ask permission spirit is great. Like there's not a lot of, compliant people around in Africa, which is amazing to see. I think we need more of it. But yeah, that's it for me. That in a nutshell, that was my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I want to echo what you said about the number of African countries represented. I thought that was amazing. There was actually one lady, Linda, I forget her surname off the top of my head. She's from Kenya, I think it was. I sat in on her talk and just amazing. I mean, she's this tiny little lady. She's probably 4 foot, if that. And this big smile on her face, telling her story about depression and how poverty just destroys your will to live, to the point that people can't even get themselves out of bed in the morning. And she personally went through that. And then she's telling the story of how she got through that and how she's now helping other people to do that. And Bitcoin forms a large part of that story. So that was incredible for me to see. I actually took a photo of her chat and posted it on Twitter as well. I just thought it was really cool. That, sometimes people get lost in the weeds on the technical side of it, and they hear, blockchain and, all the words we know and love, decentralized, uncensorable. But when you hear someone actually just talk about real impact in people's lives, that was super, super cool to see. And then I must say,
I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember meeting her as well. And like, that's the cool thing about a small conference, right? Is that you get people that can tell stories like this that would never make it onto a stage at a bigger conference, because they've got to, that's not a big conferences go. They got to attract the big speakers to get, the big numbers. And when you're at a smaller conference, you get this like really personal, intimate setting where you hear people's stories like this you'd never otherwise hear, and they're just as important, like Bitcoin is hope. If you are in grinding poverty and you're able to save a small amount every day in Bitcoin, like it can change your life, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah, I actually sat next to her at the speaker's dinner on Friday evening and got chatting. And then I saw that she was actually speaking on the Saturday. So I made sure to jump in and get that. And I think, coming back to your point as well, in the smaller conferences, you do get that FaceTime, you get to meet the people, and you really make great connections. It was cool to see. I do want to say, though, that probably one of my big highlights was actually your demonstration of payments. And I was trying to remember, I think it was 3 or 4 payments kind of initiated simultaneously, but between 4 different accounts around the world. And if I try and explain that to the audience, I'm going to totally stuff it up. So, won't you just repeat what you did there? Because I looked around the room and people were like, there's no flipping ways. Like, serious? It's like, it's cleared, it's settled. So yeah, just tell me what you did there. That was awesome.
So a bit of backstory. So last year at Adopting Bitcoin, we launched Orange. Myself and 2 co-founders have a company called Orange, and it's like a cross-border payments platform powered by the Lightning Network. And last year we did the first live demo, launched the product really at Adopting Bitcoin. And we did a demo of payments from Kenya and Nigeria to South Africa. And I don't know if people fully kind of understood what was happening, fully grasped what was happening. I phoned people in from Nigeria, phoned them in from Kenya, and I had this elaborate presentation where I did a 15-minute presentation about the problem we're solving and all these issues, and all the rest. It was very polished. I spent a lot of time on it and did this demo, and I landed pretty well. But then this year, I was like, okay, so what part of that talk was the most compelling? And I was like, well, the demo, obviously. So I was like, right, stuff this. I have so much going on in my life at the moment. Like Orange is doing really well at the moment. We're super busy. And then in my folly, I thought that, organizing or assisting to organize a conference and having a baby and running 2 other companies is a good idea. Turns out it's not. But anyway, so I was very limited for time. So I was like, right, how am I going to do this? So I thought, well, let me just focus on the stuff that kills, and that's the live demo. So every time I try to do this, my CTO is like, you're an idiot. Don't do this. One day it's going to backfire on you. It hasn't yet because he builds good tech. But one day it's going to backfire and you're going to stand up there and the demo is going to fail and you're going to look like an idiot. And I was like, well, hopefully not today because I haven't prepared a presentation properly. So here we go. So what we did was we had the guys sitting in the room and girls sitting in the room who are assisting us. And through our platform, Orange, they do a bank transfer from their Nigerian bank account. So we did Nigeria to South Africa, the UK to South Africa, the EU to South Africa, and then the UK to Bitcoin were the 4 we tested. Because previously we've shown Nigeria and Kenya to South Africa, so we didn't show those. So they were sitting in the rooms. And what I did is on my app on my phone, I was just standing, and I mean, maybe you can link to the video in the show notes, but I was just standing over there with my phone with the web app, creating the payments, and then I was just texting them the reference codes they needed to use. So they'd loaded up the local bank details they needed to make the transfer to. Because how Orange works is it's 2 local bank transfers on either side of the border, right? So like on the originating side, you're doing a local bank transfer to a local bank in your jurisdiction. What we then do is we convert those funds into sats, send them across the Lightning Network, they hit the other side, and then they convert it to the destination currency, and then it gets paid out by instant transfer. So you're stitching together 2 local bank transfers with the Lightning Network. So what these guys were doing is they were making local transfers in their own local banking apps. So from Europe, I mean, Joseph from Trezor helped us using his Revolut account. So he was sending euros to my accounts in South Africa. And then Lucy was using her UK account with Monzo, if I am correct. She was sending a local bank transfer from UK. And then we were then diverting the funds to wherever they needed to go. And if I remember rightly, Theo was assisting us, and he's from Nigeria, and he assisted at Nigerian transfer as well. And then Oaken was receiving Bitcoin on the other side as well. So we had like multiple transfers going on. I just racked them all up because I knew they're going to take about in the realm of 1 to 5 minutes to complete. So I was like, let me rack them up 4 to 5 of them, and then waffle a bit about what it is that we do, and then hope they come through in time before I run out of things to say. And it all worked perfectly. The funds landed, within 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 1 minute for the shorter ones, for the Bitcoin ones. And everyone got their money. And I really hammered on the fact that, guys, even those people are sitting in the same room, 5 meters apart, their money is on the other side of the world, and they're using an institution on the other side of the world. And they would never be able to do that through their own institution that they are presently using to send that cross-border payment. But so, for example, with Revolut, right, Joseph was making a euro transfer to a local European bank. So if he had to try, and he sent 2 euros, if he was trying to send 2 euros with Revolut to South Africa, they'd stop him. They'd say, no, you can't. That's too little. It's below our minimum. Sorry. For international cross-border payments, you can't do that. But he managed to send a local bank transfer via and Orange did the magic in the back end, and the money got settled to a South African account in less than 5 minutes, and we managed to send 2 euros at a cost of like, I don't know, I'd have to go and look at the figures, but I think the all-in cost was like 0.8% or something, like under 1%, and near instant settlement. So yeah, that was essentially what we did, and it landed well. People are often excited to see how these things work. So yeah, live demos for the win until they blow up in my face one day. But now we are busy integrating a few additional rails at the moment, and keep expanding our footprint. So we've been focused on Africa, primarily Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya, and then the big inbound corridors into those regions. So the EU, the UK, working on the US, but that's a bit of a ball ache, but we're getting there. And then the UAE later in the year, hope to have those. And then those big core channels coming in, and then expand the African footprint. So get as many African countries as we can, and then get China, India, Brazil. If we can get those all connect up all the BRICS. I would love to get Russia. but I don't know how possible that is just with the state of politics. And we have an American company, so probably not possible. But connecting South Africa and Russia seems like a complete no-brainer to me. I might work on that in a different structure where we are allowed to do it. But anyway, that's kind of what the vision we have. We want to bring on board somewhere in the realm of 10 to 20 additional on-ramps over the course of this year. So lots to do.
Sure, busy. No, it sounds cool. Every single person that I've spoken to about what was the one thing that made Bitcoin real to them was using it. Either making a payment, receiving a payment, actually seeing the thing work. And I think you spot on right. Just demo the stuff. You see a guy in the street, tell him to download a wallet, send him $50 and send him off to Pick and Pay to go and spend it. And that, enough said. You don't need to do any more than that. The penny will drop and he'll go, this is awesome. Can I do this back home? And you go, well, of course. So, demo, and it's not a real demo until it fails. Just by the way, live demos,
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly why. So I set up one of my portfolios on the committee is payments. So all of the Bitcoin payments for tickets and for all the food at the event, I set that all up through my BTCPay Server. And I'm sure you did it. Most people did it. You go and buy lunch in Sats at Pure Good Cafe. So we did a very limited amount of training with them, set them up. We did it last year as well. The system runs so smoothly. BTCPay Server is amazing. Shout out to the BTCPay Server team. It's probably my favorite open source project in Bitcoin. It's so useful. I use it every day. We processed now over the course of the last two conferences, we've probably processed in upwards of 2 million Rand. If you take ticket sales and paying vendors and all of that stuff, food, vendors, all the rest. And our total hosting cost is like 300 Rand a month. And that's using my instance of BTCPay Server, which the Adopting Bitcoin has a profile. So that hosting cost is shared amongst 30 other profiles. So the total cost over the 2 years to Adopting Bitcoin for that is probably, let's round it up to 500 Rand to process all of those payments. It's absolutely unreal. So that's the real thing. And we can't call a conference Adopting Bitcoin if people are not using Bitcoin, and you're scamming basically. So big driver for us is getting people to spend their Bitcoin. It is not, Bitcoin is a unit of account. It's a medium of exchange. It's a store of values, all of those things. It's money, right? It's not just one of them. And this divide and conquer strategy that people have been pushing of trying to force people into camps to be like, Bitcoin is this. No, it's all of those things. At our conference, we try to get people to spend Bitcoin and use it as money as much as possible.
Well, I think the fact that you can only buy a ticket using Bitcoin already is just off the bat. That's the message. Guys, take it or leave it. This is how we do it here. So I think it's perfect that that's the way it happens. And brilliant that you can buy coffee. And it's not just the one little restaurant. There's a coffee stand on the side and all the merchants there except Bitcoin, obviously, the guys that have little desks and stands. So, I think it's action. The action is right there. Yeah, it's what you say, and you guys are doing it right there.
And, just to circle back to the a large contingent of people from the rest of Africa we had, every single one of them uses Bitcoin. Every single one, because it's the easiest way for them to port their value and spend it in a foreign country. So you come across someone who's, working in a very limited capacity, tangentially to Bitcoin in a project in Africa, but their main unit of account and medium of exchange they're using when they're in South Africa is Bitcoin. And then we have people who come from very large exchanges in South Africa that are running multi-billion Rand operations, and they don't have any Bitcoin, and they're trying to tell us, guys, can't we pay you in Rands for this ticket? We don't have the Bitcoin to pay you. It's like, what the fuck? What he does? These guys are scammers. They don't have Bitcoin. They run a cryptocurrency. I'm not going to name names here, but they run a crypto exchange or work at a crypto exchange, and they don't have Bitcoin themselves to spend on a ticket. Retards.
So why do you think that is?
Because they're shitcoiners. These guys are not in it they're not in it for the revolution. They're not in it to separate money from state and create a free and prosperous world where people are not being controlled by blood-sucking vampiric pedophiles, to put it mildly. they are here to start a new casino, and to affinity scam the Bitcoin revolution. Like, yeah, I mean, I have no time for these people, as you can tell. They've been around, they've been in the scene as long as we have. They should know better, but they don't. Yeah.
And probably quite a nice filter as well. It's like a filter at the door, like in those movies where you see the hot trendy nightclub and there's this long queue of people outside. And if you look normal, you stand in the queue. But if you are a celebrity or a hot chick, you just walk straight to the front. They take one look at how you dress, they open the little thing and they let you right on into the club. So it's probably the same way here. You got to buy it with Bitcoin, and that's filter number one.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you got to come and pay with Bitcoin, and ideally you pay in Lightning rather than on-chain. I mean, the BTCPay Server handles both, but ideally you pay in Lightning because everything's instant. You get your ticket issued instantly. You don't have to wait 20 minutes for your ticket gets sent to you, all of that stuff. But yeah, it's a great filter, and it means that people have to, if they don't have Bitcoin, they have to go and find Bitcoin first to pay us. Like, we do make accommodations for people who arrive at the conference and they're like, listen, I want to buy a ticket. I'm just a walk-in, because we get those. I don't have Bitcoin. What do I do? We're like, well, guys, there's people standing right here. We'll trade peer-to-peer with you. Give them your cash. They'll give you Bitcoin. That's how you do it. Get your ticket and then you're ever away. We'll get this guy here to buy your ticket for you and give him the cash. But we're not accepting cash from you. We're not accepting rands. As an organization, adopting Bitcoin doesn't have a bank account, so we can't accept rands. So it's Bitcoin only.
No, that is brilliant, man. That is flipping cool. So that was my first one done, dusted. I am already booked for my second one. I can't wait to do that. It was actually so weird meeting people. In fact, I think I met you face to face for the first time at the conference.
I know. And it's strange because I feel like we've chatted a lot, and like I know you, and like this is the first time we meet. And that was the same for quite a few people actually. We're like, this is the first time we're meeting in person.
Well, it's the first time I've met everybody on the panel. So I didn't realize that Oken, I know you're going to listen to this, but I'm going to say it now. I didn't realize that he was such a loud, vibey guy. He didn't need a microphone. You could hear him from the other side of Warehouse 17 when he spoke. That was awesome to see. And I loved the shades. I'm sure it was probably because he was out till the wee hours of the morning, but the shades were on all the time. He looked the business.
It's not. He lost he wears glasses, and he lost his normal prescription glasses when he was coming over from Namibia, and he couldn't get a new pair in South Africa because he's obviously Namibian. So he just had to wear his dark prescription glasses all the time so he could see, because he's blind.
Oh, no ways. Is that the story?
No, not blind. His eyes aren't good.
And here I wanted to give him my Stellenbosch Bitcoin Mafia hat, because I thought, dude, you just look like the Mafia. We've got those shades on. You're indoors.
Yeah, he needs a Vintage Bitcoin Mafia hat, actually.
Yeah, and Herman is tall, man. Jeepers. I didn't expect the guy to be so tall.
He's a big guy. I actually got to spend 2 weeks, 10 days with Herman. Him and I traveled to Prague together last year to the Trezor launch, and then to the Plan B in Lugano. And Herman's like closest thing to like dress attire is like a new t-shirt. It's hilarious. He's he runs a surf school and a Bitcoin circular economy. His need for collared shirts is basically zero, which is fantastic. I hope to get to that point one day myself.
Cool, man. So jumping into what we generally talk about on the show is rounding up what's been happening in the world in the past month. The one thing that has suddenly gained a whole bunch of traction is OpenClaw. Seems to be a autonomous AI agent you can install locally on your machine, and seems to be able to do a whole bunch of things. Have you messed around with this a little bit, looked at it? What are your thoughts there?
People are going to hate me on this. I have not messed around with OpenClaw yet myself, but I am deep in the agentic workflow on the other platforms. So I'm running stuff locally, but not self-hosted at the moment. So my next mission is to get myself a I mean, you can run it in the cloud, like you do with OpenClaw, which is cool. But my next mission is to actually get a rig, with GPUs, etc. I can run the whole LLM locally, store everything locally. So I'm busy planning out my entire approach to this, architecting, etc. Because there's so much you can do. I mean, I've been building. So I've worked in the tech industry now for I don't know 6-7 years, no 8 years, and I worked as a product owner, head of product, but I'm not a dev myself. But what this agentic whole revolution has enabled is people like myself who are creative and understand how the architecture of the stuff works. All of a sudden you can write the code, and it's unreal. It's now I don't have to rely on devs anymore to get stuff done. I can do it myself. So I've been building over the past 2 weeks obsessively, it's a bit of a problem. I've been building out all kinds of things. One of the things I've been working on is, as a product owner, writing tickets, specking tickets for devs to work on is super time consuming. So I wrote a AI agent that takes voice input for what I want to build. It then asks me by AI, asks me refinements on the build after I've given an initial instruction, do multiple rounds of refinements, and the output is a dev ready ticket that's spec'd for GitHub or Jira or Asana or Trello or whatever you're using. It's spec'd for those different platforms and has all the details, acceptance criteria, product requirements, all of that stuff in there. So that's basically now it took me, I don't know, maybe a week of work to in the evenings and stuff to get it working properly to a point where I'm happy with it, past MVP. And now when I write a ticket, it takes me 5 minutes as opposed to 2 hours. So the speed at which you can do stuff now is so good. So and then I've realized that you can build out solutions like this as standalone single-use products that people pay to use. So for example, yourself, you might want to build some type of tech platform, let's say a website and a podcast player for your podcast, for example. If you're not a technical person, how do you know how to do that? And even if you want to get a dev to do it for you, you're going to waste a lot of time trying to get your point across to them, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So you could use a tool like what I've built to plan your entire project, have tickets written up for the entire project, and you pay in sats for each ticket that's written based on how much compute power it takes to do it, right? And then all of a sudden, you've got a completely dev-ready roadmap of your entire project, and you can feed that into the AI to write it up for you. So Claude Code can write that up for you, and now you have a product built. Boom. That's super powerful. So my mission now is to how do you build up a bunch of these microservices that build in sats, make them available to people in the world, and it's it's a website and a Lightning wallet. That's it. It's amazing.
Yeah, talking about how people only the penny with Bitcoin drops when people use it. I think AI is very much the same sort of thing. I was watching a demonstration last week, Thursday. I'm part of a business forum, and we've got a whole range of business owners on this thing. And one of the guys is an old Greek restaurateur. He's been in the game for 40 years. He's run everything. He's been involved with most of the top end restaurants in Pretoria. He just knows his stuff. And he kept saying, hey man, AI is wonderful, but we got to flip the burgers. We've got to, get a waiter to take you to your table. And he was really just not seeing how AI was going to help him in his game. And at the demo last week, a guy set up specifically just for him exactly what you're talking about. He voice prompted he had obviously set it up in advance, but he voice prompted and just said, I have a wedding to prep for, so many guests, that's my budget, I want this style theme, listed everything in there, and boom, it came up with the whole menu, the price per head, everything sorted out, and costed per item, per ingredient, all broken down, recipes, everything slotted in place. And he looked at the Greek guy and said, so what do you think of that? And the Greek guy said, well, how much is it? That's all he wanted to know. No more questions needed. He saw it. And immediately, boom, light bulb moment, and he's on board.
And the how you take this one step further now, him saying, how much is it? You said to him, you only pay for what you use. So that exact output that you just got there, that for costing the whole thing, 50 Rand, whatever, like, in that realm, he'll be like, what? I'm like, yeah, because you don't need this. You don't need a monthly subscription for this. You don't need this. You only need this when you need this, right? And so the beauty is like, it's actually not 50 Rand. It's whatever 50 Rand is in sats, because Rands are irrelevant here, because you can't do this on Rands. Because now to do it on Rands, you have to go set up a company and bank accounts and all this nonsense to then hit a certain amount of scale before you can actually be break even, because of all the compliance and regulatory costs that come with running a company and filing your taxes and doing all that shit. So all you could do is you could host this service on a very basic website with a simple user authentication front end and a BTCPay Server, the ability to take payment. And all your service does is it counts how many tokens have gone into actually writing this query for the person. And then you add a markup and it gives them a bill at the end. Cool, pay this and you get it as a download. Everything's downloaded in a PDF or whatever format you want it in to action it. And then you pay to use. And it changes everything, because I can now sell this service to someone in Finland and I can be based in South Africa, but we're interfacing in cyberspace. There is no jurisdiction. Like, this is sovereign individual territory right here. And this is only possible if you have a currency that is the default currency of the internet, which is where the Lightning Network comes in or Bitcoin comes in, right? So for me, like, this is just the most exciting, the most exciting aspect of it completely, because like you've had quite a few companies in your time in various jurisdictions. I'm going through that process myself now over the past few years. Yes, I don't know if it's worth it, eh? Like, it's an absolute, yeah.
So right on top of that, what you were saying reminded me, and it was actually one of my highlights, but I forgot to mention it. So there was a guy that was doing a talk at the conference on, was it private members associations?
Yep.
Well, actually, that wasn't the title of his talk, but that was one of the sort of pillars of his talk, was how to go about conducting business without having to go through what you're describing now. Register company, do all these things. So we were actually sitting next to each other and you were nodding your head profusely as he was talking. So I'm going to hand back over to you and tell the audience a bit about what is this and what does it mean?
Unfortunately, I only walked into that talk halfway through, and the talk was cut short at the end. So I only caught like 15 minutes of it, and they didn't record the talk because the guy who gave the talk is super privacy conscious. But he is still in South Africa, and I'm going to go and luckily I know who he is, and we've chatted a bit. So I'm going to track him down and spend some proper time picking his brain on this. But essentially, his case he was making was like, listen, the elites of the world, call them the Illuminati, call them the pedo class, call them whatever you want. These guys don't play by the same rules as us. They don't have companies. They don't sit there and pay taxes to themselves. What they've got are these organizations and entities that function above the nation-state jurisdictional level. It's like voluntary opt-in associations, private members clubs, call it whatever you want. The gist of it is basically, if you can build something that allows a service to function and add value for other people in a way that, they can send you value, you can send them value. What do you need the state for? Like, the state's just there to leech off you. I mean, to us, that's obvious, but to most people, they haven't had, strung that together yet. But the state's just there to leech off you and tell you what you can't do. So how do you create these structures that get around that? And he had a bunch of ideas about that. I can't go too much into detail because I missed most of the talk. But the takeaway is, if you can build the infrastructure to allow you to give value to people and allow them to send value back to you, where it's peer-to-peer, that's the structure. That's what you need to do. So a website and a Lightning wallet and an AI bot is, in my opinion, a great way of getting there. And especially if the AI runs the whole thing, and if it's self-hosted, and if it's sitting behind an AI self-defense agent, which masks your IP and throws up all kinds of chaff for anyone trying to track your internet, use, actively sends them down wild goose chases. You can build a self-defense AI agent for this, I'd imagine. I haven't tried it yet, but it's best believe it's on my list. You can then operate all around the world, and especially if your AI is selling services to other AIs. Yeah, good luck, regulators.
Yeah, no, that sounds cool. When you have a chance to chat to him, please do let me know. I'd like to just get some info back from you on that. That is a super cool one.
He's staying in South Africa for the next few months. He hasn't quite planned how long yet. But I think what we should do is organize a private workshop with him. Get a few people who are really interested to spend maybe half a day and just workshop some ideas. I think that's the way to do it. Because that talk was way too short for the importance of the content that he was delivering.
100%. That'll be absolutely awesome. Do count me in on that one.
Yep.
So still sticking to tech news, just some global news. I see BitChat adds photos and audio messaging into their platform now. How flipping cool is that? It used to just be text, and now they just ratcheted up another notch.
Did you use BitChat at the conference?
I did. I have it on my phone. I fired it up and I sat there and I watched. There were a whole bunch of people there. Yes. I posted a quick message. It was kind of interesting. The funny thing is I had left my cell phone charger behind. So I was trying to not run too many things that were going to chow my battery in 15 minutes. And so I let BitChat run for about an hour and then eventually I shut it down. Right. So I didn't have it open the whole time.
So the reason why I used it was because the Wi-Fi was overwhelmed at the conference and it was super slow. And like messages weren't going through. And like we were having on the org, we were having to chat to people to like find out what was going on. And so I got on there to actually chat to Oaken about like what's happening, where are you, what talk are you emceeing now, like what's the plan here, just like general logistics, and it worked seamlessly. So wow, it emulated a environment with internet just shut down, right? Because the internet was so slow because so many people using it, it's basically non-functional. And you get onto BitChat, you send messages, and it works. Like, and you can see the people that are there on the network. No, it's amazing.
So I can't wait to actually use it properly. I'm definitely going to try that. I was listening to a guy the other day. He said he can see the first use case for BitChat in the West is going to be finding drugs at a concert. When you've got a stadium full of people jammed together and you want to communicate. And he said, I really hope that's not the first big use case, but it does seem strange that I don't know if you want to call it deviant behavior or that sort of thing, how that kind of stuff can drive tech adoption. I heard a really interesting one about the wars between Blu-ray and there were two formats competing. I think it was high definition, some sort of high definition format and Blu-ray. And they were competing for dominance in that space. Yes. And in fact, it was before that. It was VHS and Betamax.
And Betamax, yeah.
So apparently the porn industry locked onto VHS. And I mean, that was the bulk of that sort of trade. So suddenly VHS became popular. And I heard the same thing happened with the Blu-ray, Sony Blu-ray stuff and the other high def format. It went down to the porn industry and what they were using to distribute content. So, you build something, you put it out there, and then someone uses it for something you hadn't really thought about at all. And suddenly it drives a whole wave. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you a use case for BitChat. So I go to Africa Burn, which is this festival in the desert in the Tankwa Karoo in about 6 hours out of Cape Town. And there's no cell phone reception, obviously, in the middle of nowhere. There's no internet reception. It is frowned upon, highly, highly frowned upon, to bring things like Starlink to try to get connectivity at Burn because it takes you out of the present. But so everyone uses two-way radios to find their mates. But now your two-way radio that you buy on Takealot has like 12 channels. Every single channel you go to is permanently being used by someone else being like, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? So BitChat solves this problem massively because you've got 10,000 people at Africa Burn and the area is like, I don't know, 10 square kilometers. Like it's massive. It's big. And finding your mates is very hard, especially at night. And so I could see the use case here for BitChat is like in an offline environment to be able to track your mates down is super useful, because otherwise I've done it myself. You spend hours walking around in circles by yourself, which is not always a bad thing at a place like Africa Burn, because you meet new people. But I could see that as being super useful, and that's a wholesome use case. But the other thing about like building open source tech and not knowing who's going to use it is like, as we know now from the Epstein files, Epstein, as early as 2011 was trying to get in there with the early devs, trying to compromise devs. Gavin Andreessen luckily palmed him off, but he was trying to get in with Gavin Andreessen, tried to get in with Amir Taki, got in with Andy Back, old Andy / Adam. So Bitcoin might have been used by Epstein's network to pay for trafficking and things. Like, that's unfortunately in open source networks, that's how it goes. Like, there's money for enemies, and like, this is why you have to separate tech from the act, and you can't ban tech. Well, people will try, obviously, but you shouldn't ban tech for the way people use it. It's like banning cars because people kill people with cars, or banning knives because people stab people. Like, this is silly. Or banning guns because people get shot. What if bad people need to get shot? Sometimes they do. I'd argue they do. So it's, and that's how tech goes. So no doubt, BitChat's going to be used for drug deals. I hope it is. It's great. Build up more freedom tech.
Yeah, in fact, talking about another little bit of freedom news over the past month was Zeus Wallet have now integrated the Money Badger QR code functionality as native in their wallet. So we've got sort of Blink that has been working or Money Badger has been working closely with Blink, might be a better way to say it. And now it looks like Zeus is on board as well. So this is like super cool. Once again, South African homegrown tech that's starting to spread its way around the world. Yeah.
Yeah, the Money Badger team, what they are pulling off is just unreal. I'm lucky enough to know the guys on the team, and just like couldn't find a better group of people that are more mission driven on this. And yeah, it's super cool to see other wallets integrating it. Like Blink has been, and huge credit must go to Blink. They've been a supporter of adopting Bitcoin from the start, from the conference from the start. Kamal's been absolutely instrumental in that. And then they've really been supporting the South African ecosystem. They integrated Money Badger, the first wallet to do it. And I mean, I don't know the exact stats, but I'd go on a limb to say that South Africa is a very important jurisdiction for them now. And they're seeing, they're seeing rewards for the time and effort they've put in. And for Zeus, which is phenomenal because they're a self-custodial Lightning wallet, to come in and support that as well is great, because now the self-custodial Lightning users can, pay directly at Pick and Pay. Because the issue people might have with Blink is that it's custodial, comes with trade-offs, etc. Everyone's aware of those. But yeah, to see self-custodial Lightning wallets do it now is great. And the previous ones have done it have been Aqua, which is cool. But Aqua makes use of Liquid, which is a custodial to a degree. Federation, Multisig. Who are those federations? Were they on Epstein's Island too? Who knows? All these new questions have come up subsequently. So as far as I know, Evan Kalidis hasn't been on Epstein's Island from Zeus. So use Zeus.
Well, I did see a great meme that came through this week, a picture of Van Riebeck saying, I know one person who hasn't been on Epstein's Island. Good old Van Riebeck gets a lot of flack in South Africa, but that was cool. That made me
apparently the source of all problems.
There we go. Yeah. So at least his reputation is intact on that one. Cool. So just a quick roundup of some sort of economic news. I mean, the fiat circus continues. A couple of things that happened over the last month. Iran, as we know, is going through a tough time. Food prices have risen 72% in the last year. They've lost 98% of their value in 10 years, between 2015 and 2025. In Syria, they've decided to drop 2 zeros off the pound because, that's obviously going to make all the difference. Easy fix. I don't know why no one else thought about that. So apparently they've lost 99.6% of their value against the US dollar since 2011. And obviously, speaking of the US, they've invaded Venezuela, and the Bolivar has lost 20% since the US invaded. So, it's just, here we go again. The fiat circus continues. Obviously, these are sort of areas that are really either dictators or a lot of conflict going on at the moment, and that sort of thing. But any end in sight to this thing, or is the Trump circus just kicking up a bigger storm as it goes?
So a friend of mine introduced me to this concept of Turbo America. And the basic premise of Turbo America is that as the empire enters into its death throes, it becomes more and more insane with the actions it takes. It lashes out more, becomes more turbo. And I think this is what we're seeing. Like America's not a republic; it's an empire, in my humble opinion. And what's happening at the moment is that the empire was under weak management for the Biden years, and now the new emperor who's taken over is trying his best to reassert the empire's dominance. And this is no different from how the Roman Empire functioned, or the Byzantines functioned, or the Ottomans, or whoever. Like, new management comes in, they try to reassert dominance of the empire, and the way that they do this is through hegemony, right? Like, they've got to go out there and got to slap a few countries around, take their stuff, take their resources, subjugate their people. That's what empires do. There's no such thing as a good empire. Like, it's not how it works. And so I actually want to speak about Iran for a bit, because this is something I've spent a bit of time looking into. And Iran is one of the oldest constitutional republics in the world, second to America. They had a constitutional democracy in the early 20th century, so like 1901 or something. My dates are slightly off. But, there was the constitution was written and enshrined a whole bunch of rights. Because Iran, up until the 1970s, was not an Islamic republic. People must know this about Iran. Persia was one of the greatest, let's go back to the empire thing, one of the greatest empires the world has ever known. When Europe was bathing in their own excrement, when Europeans were bathing in their own excrement and sleeping with the pigs, the Persians were keeping ice cold in the desert, like making ice in the desert. Like, these guys were so far advanced. The first real empire was the Sumerians, and then following that was basically the Persians. And so, like, it has been a civilizational force for thousands of years. And these are very, very civilized people, and they view themselves this way. And so what happened in the 1950s was there was a democratically elected leader. So actually, let me go back a bit before that. Ottoman Empire took over Persia and Iran. And when they were defeated in the First World War, the British moved in and the Americans moved in, and they seized Iran's oil. That was the prime agenda. The British went and stole their oil, implemented their multinational corporations, BP, etc., and were taking their oil and giving the Iranians nothing back for it. And driving the post-industrial revolution, but driving post-First World War Britain. And then in the 1950s, they had an election. Mossadegh is elected. He's a democratically elected president of Iran by vast majority, and basically getting rid of the Shah, which was the puppet king that the British had installed. He gets elected. They then coup him, get rid of him, kill him. Did he die or did he go in exile? I'm not too sure, but he got removed from power anyway by a CIA MI6 plot is removed. Then they install the Shah again, old man Pahlavi. They install him. He has a brutal dictatorship where he's oppressing people. And notice how the same people who are crying about human rights abuses in Iran at the moment, with the protests, they're the same people who put the same forces that put the Shah in power in the first place, who was running a brutal dictatorship. The same people who put Saddam Hussein in power, the same people who armed and enabled Osama bin Laden. Like, these people are liars. Like, their arguments should count for nothing. Anyway, they don't care about human rights. Anyway, so then you have a natural rebellion. Well, people could argue how natural it is, but a rebellion pops up, and you have the theocratic regime, the mullahs taking over, the ayatollahs taking over, and then you get this theocratic regime, and they kick out the US. There's that famous clip of the Americans having to get on a helicopter and get the hell out of Tehran, chased out, and then you have the theocratic regime. But the theocratic regime would not have taken over if the Americans and the British were not there fucking around in the first place, trying to enforce their multinational corporations and stealing all the Iranians' money. So the reason why Iran has a theocratic dictatorship, whatever you want to call it now, I don't know if it is quite a dictatorship, but they've got a theocracy in charge, is because of foreign intelligence agencies and foreign meddling and regime change. It's because of regime change. So now these fucktards are back trying to say we need to have a regime change again here. And what do they think the outcome's going to be? Like, the outcome's going to be worse for the Iranian people. They just want their oil. They just want their resources. And they want to break a civilization so that it can no longer threaten Israel in the region. That's ultimately what it comes down to, in my opinion. And that's why Israel's got such a hard on for destroying Iran. So the Iranians are not stupid. They know this. They know this is what America and Israel have been planning for such a long time. And that the Iranians chant in the streets, and even in Iranian parliament, chant death to America. And the Americans and the commentators in America are so aghast. Look, they hate us. They chant death to America. Lindsey Graham is out there chanting death to Iran all the time, basically. So it cuts both ways. Anyway, long story short, the empire and its vassals, and maybe the people who control the empire, want to destroy Iran. They want to take the resources. And so the hyperinflation you're seeing in Iran is a direct result of financial repression being imposed on them by the Americans, by the Israelis, by the British, by the French. All of these colonial powers who want to keep colonizing and keep enforcing imperialism. So that doesn't mean I support the Iranian regime or think it's good. I think theocracy is a cuck way to run a country. I think that people would much rather be living free. I think that the people under the government that Mossadegh had established, if that had been left alone, Iran would be a great, prosperous place, like it was in the early 70s and late 60s. It's a great country. It's a great civilization. And I think they've been subjugated to all this external interference. And so I completely understand why Iran is the way it is, and why they, hate the Israelis and hate the Americans and hate the French and hate the British. It makes perfect sense to me. And if any of us were in that same situation, we'd probably view it the same way too, as the Iranians do. And yeah, they're 90 million people. It's not Venezuela. It's not Iraq. It's not Syria. It's not this walk in the park. And if they've been preparing for this for 50 years for America to invade them, and I think that if America does try to invade them, they've sent 2 carrier strike groups. And now if they do try to invade them, you might see an American carrier be sunk. What is that? What some signal does that send to the rest of the world about the state of the empire? And I don't know if the empire can tolerate that. So then what? They nuke Iran? And then what happens? Does Iran have their own secret nukes? Maybe. Do they then nuke Israel in retaliation? They only need 2 or 3 nukes to take the whole of Israel out. It's a terrible spiral of events that could all be stopped if these bloodthirsty savages who are elites who are running the show were not so deranged and actually respected humanity and human dignity and human life, etc. So, yeah, cause and effect. There's no good guys. There's only bad guys.
I think my takeaway from that, and thanks for that, because I'm not too au fait with Iranian history, so good to hear. But I think my takeaway from this whole thing is freedom is fragile, and it can very easily be taken away from you.
Yeah,
if you have a dictator can step into a country and just absolutely decimate a country, and all those millions of people can basically do nothing about it unless they go for armed revolution, which is very, very difficult to do. And so, we have this democracy, we have all these institutions, the United Nations, all these guys that are so-called talking the talk about freedom and human rights and all that sort of thing. But I think, as you pointed out, these are the same clowns that seem to be overthrowing governments, overthrowing elected people, and they say, yeah, but he's a bad dude. Well, there's other bad dudes that you're not overthrowing, but those bad dudes aren't sitting on a mountain of gold or diamonds or oil, so you leave them alone.
It's all a scam.
So I'm always just surprised. Yeah, totally. I'm always completely surprised at how the few can control the many. And it has been shown over and over and over again. Every major war, it's a few people at the top directing something, and the cannon fodder gets marched in there and just gets blown to pieces. I remember at the 100-year anniversary of the Delville Wood battle in Belgium, a lady was doing a talk on, there was a presentation there for the 100-year anniversary, and they were describing what went on down there. I mean, there was something like 300 rounds or shells per minute landing in that field where there were people there. I mean, and it wasn't even a strategically important thing, but some clown decided it was strategically important, and they had to defend that with life and limb.
And those people fighting each other have no beef with each other.
100%. What was that story? Was it a World War I story of the German and British guys in the trenches that played football against each other on Christmas Day? And then Boxing Day, load up and have at it.
Yeah.
So,
there was a Russian experiment that was done. A Russian student created this game to illustrate a point of how the informed minority can always co-opt the uninformed majority. And it's called the werewolf game. It's basically like everyone gets cards that only they can see. And there's 2 werewolf cards and the rest are villagers. And the people who get the werewolf, then at night, they simulate night, everyone's got to close their eyes. And the werewolves can open their eyes and they get to choose to kill one villager. But now the werewolves know who each other are because they can open their eyes and they agree, cool, we're taking this guy out. Bah, he's out. Then the next morning, the villagers and the werewolves get to decide who they think the werewolf was, and they kill that person and take him out. And by running this game through a bunch of cycles over and over again, they found that in most cases, majority of cases, the werewolves are the ones that are left at the end, not the villagers. Because the villagers have no idea who the werewolves are, and the werewolves are like, I'm not a werewolf, I'm a villager. That guy's a werewolf. And this is exactly what we see happening. So this is what I think's come to light, what people suspected for a long time, and now what we're seeing with the Epstein email dump, coordinated leak, trying to sanitize it, whatever you want to call it. We're definitely not getting the full picture, but the little bit of a picture we're seeing is compelling enough to realize, okay, hang on. There is a elite class that know what's going on. They all know each other. They're working together to subvert freedom. I'm not even going to use democracy because I think the term democracy is a complete scam. It's not real. Democracy is a sham. We don't get to vote for what we want. Like, politicians are controlled by elites. So you vote for a politician. John Steenhuisen, case in point, you vote for a politician, he turns out to be an absolute prawn and does what the globalists want him to do anyway. So, yeah. I mean, also, John Steenhuisen immediately gets into government, gets as fat as an ANC politician. Like, hilarious. But anyway, so the elite know what they're doing. And I had a conversation with someone after the conference actually about the state of Germany and what's happened in Germany and how like this deindustrializing so quickly, everything's falling apart. The immigration is just like flooding in there, and he's like, yeah, the politicians are just retarded, like they just don't know what they're doing. They just like stick to their ideology. And I'm like, no, dude, that's not what's going on. They know exactly what they're doing. They try to tell you they don't know what they're doing to like justify, oh, just stupid. No, the reality is way worse. They know what they're doing. They are purposefully trying to destroy Germany. I don't know why. I don't have to speculate as to why, but I can see with my own eyes what's going on. Is that Germany was one of the most industrialized countries in the world, and now they're trying to run an industrialized economy on wind turbines and solar panels in Northern Europe. Like, no one's that dumb. Come on, like that doesn't work. That dog don't hunt. Closing down the nuclear power plants, blowing up the cheap gas pipeline from Russia. It can't just be stupid. It's done on purpose. Like, why are you bringing in all of these migrants, purposefully? And every time someone tries to stop you, you're like fighting tooth and nail to keep them coming, and it's destroying the fabric of German society. And crime rates are through the roof, and like, rape gangs, grooming gangs, like, and the politicians keep just trying to cover it up. I mean, that's the UK, but same, right? Like, it's obviously been done on purpose. And so you have this group of elites that are werewolves, and they know each other, and the villagers are all just busy pointing at each other, like, like, oh, it's you. But then meanwhile, it's the pedos that are running the show that are causing the problems here.
Yeah, that whole Epstein thing. I mean, just the Epstein thing, in a weird way, reminds me of the taxi industry in South Africa. I mean, the taxis, okay, not where you live, but where I live. The taxis are a daily reminder that the government has totally lost control of the country. So the Epstein list is the fact that they claim to want freedom, transparency, democracy, human rights, all of that, and then refuse to release documents, or when they do, it's heavily redacted. Right there just tells you that they're actually not interested in any of the stuff that they spout forth. It's all about power, money, resources, control.
And then they have the gall to go and say, Iran needs freedom. Iran needs democracy. What? So they can become more like you guys. Like, I don't think the Iranian people want that. I don't think the Iranian people want to be run by a bunch of pedos, So, I mean, we can say what we want about the Ayatollahs. Maybe they're into that. Maybe they're not. I don't know. Have the elites managed to crack that circle? I don't know. It seems to me like this is a Western thing and not so much a Eastern thing. I mean, the Gulf states are pretty much involved in the Epstein thing too, but who knows about that. But yeah, I mean, the point is that they moralize and they use morality as a weapon, but they themselves do not hold themselves to that same standard. It's just talk. And so people who believe them, people who fall for this moralizing nonsense, you're being played. Guys, you're being absolutely played by people who do not hold the same moral standards as you. You take this personally, and you believe this because you think people should live according to a certain moral code because you live according to that moral code. But the people who are telling you, crafting this narrative, do not. And they're taking advantage of you, and they're using it as a cudgel to beat you over the head with, and eventually take away your freedom and possibly steal your children. Like, we should not be listening to these people at all. Like, I don't know how to say it in stronger terms. And like, that meme of like you living on this rock, flying through space, paying taxes to pedophiles, couldn't be more true, Yeah, and I hate to hammer on this point, but like, it is clear as daylight right now that like the entire elite has been compromised by this. And when do we need guillotines? Like, when do the guillotines come? Like, how do you fix this problem otherwise?
Yep. Armed revolution might be the only thing left, or a major war, or some sort of conflict. It's, when empires fall, there's going to be repercussions, and there's some sort of reset coming.
But they're pushing for war because the elites, as you've seen in Europe, like, they are so bloodthirsty for a war with Russia, and all that's going to happen is young men are going to die. Young innocent men who shouldn't be dying, who should be the future of these countries, are going to die, and these parasitic leeches are not going to die, and they're going to be left making all the money out of it because war is a racket. They back both sides. And so this is why Bitcoin is, for me, the only option here, because you can peacefully opt out of this. Bitcoin in self-custody, not Bitcoin in MicroStrategy, not Bitcoin in be loaned against, using your Bitcoin as collateral to get a fiat loan. Bitcoin in your own self-custody is the only solution here, because you can opt out of this bullshit. And it takes civil disobedience, and it takes people to be like, okay, how do you got to defund the state? Like, it's the only way, because otherwise we're stuck on this hamster wheel of being pitted against each other. And like, I have more in common with the man on the street in Iran than I have in common with the leadership of any country in the world. And like, the man on the street in Iran speaks a different language, has a different religion, totally different civilizational history, but him and I have way more in common. And me and the Congolese man on the street, way more in common than I have in common with the ruling elite. And so that's what we need to be aware of.
Yeah, that's such a great way to wrap this up and come back to how we started the conversation. Was the amazing thing is about Bitcoin and all the freedom tech that's coming out with it is you can just do things. You can build businesses, build products, sell to anybody, anywhere in the world. And you can just get on with dealing with life, that the important part of life, raising a family, raising your kids, putting food on the table, and, you know, meeting with your friends, having a beer, just community. That's what the life is about. It's not about all this other stuff, and you can opt out.
Yeah, it's completely right. It's all about community and family, and this is also evident in the Epstein files. The elites are trying everything they can to break those bonds apart. It's like the classic communist way: break the nuclear family apart, break the community apart. The state is everything, because they know that's where our power comes from, is us talking to each other in, you know, face to face, not over a keyboard, face to face, and then being like, oh, actually, this guy and I have a lot in common, much more than this pedo is trying to tell me what to do. And that's where our strength really comes from. So build things without permission, expressly without permission, and build things that you can help strengthen your community, your local community. And it's all local, right? Like, start local and then you can expand global. But like, your food is so important. Your schooling is so important. Like, don't send your kids to a government indoctrination camp, you know, where they're going to try to jab him with an untested vaccine and try to get him to have gender reassignment surgery without your permission as a parent. Like, that's what's happening in public schools. Like, guys, it's upon us. So you got to really radically rethink how you do it. In community first, family first, do it yourself. Don't ask for permission. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and just to wrap up, the final thought from our side, the beautiful thing about this new economy that we're on the cusp of entering in is it only works if you create value for somebody else. So that's how you build things. You build something that somebody else finds valuable. They will share, they will part with their funds in exchange for what you offer. And that's how it works. You don't have to listen to politicians and, as you call them, the elites, who say one thing, do another thing. You can just actually really build a proper product, a proper business, and you can focus on your family. Yeah. So Ricky, that's I think we
save it. One last thing before we wrap, like, save it in the only money that respects your time, and that's Bitcoin, because 100%. It's censorship resistant. They can't stop you, and it respects your time. So you don't have to make that much money if you're a little microservice you're starting. But if you stack that and you wait 10 years, it's all worth it.
Bitcoin. One word to end the whole thing on.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Listen, Ricky, thanks for your time again. It was great actually having a one-on-one chat. So as much as I love the other guys, this was a great chat. Awesome. So super cool. See you next month and have a great day.
Thanks, Gavin. I'm going to go have a surf now, actually.
Cheers, mate.
Cool. Cheers, Gavin.